Hey, pumpkins are beginning to show up everywhere. Watch my pumpkin rama as you get some ideas for how to make 5 pumpkins for under $5. This is 5 Under 5 collaboration, so let's get started. Five Under 5, number 1, a creepy cloth pumpkin. And the supplies needed include a wooden pumpkin, green leaves, red rope ribbon, creepy cloth, reptile adhesive, khaki colored paint, hot glue, and brown acrylic paint. When the theme of the pumpkin party any pumpkin decor, that leaves it open for the possibility of things never seen before. So I was kind of running out of ideas, but I thought a creepy cloth pumpkin would be very unique and very different. Creepy cloth now, it's something like cheesecloth, but more loosely woven together. In addition, you only see this kind of cloth during fall time. I had a wooden pumpkin and I used some acrylic paint to paint the orange pumpkin khaki. Also, I used some brown acrylic paint and brushed it over the stem. And after it was dry, I cut a piece of creepy cloth enough to cover the wooden pumpkin. And I started to glue it on with a reptile adhesive. I covered the front and the sides to give it, it needed a really cohesive look. And I had some green leaves, so I cut them to fit the pumpkin and I glued them to the top of the pumpkin with hot glue. Finally, I looked in my stash and I found some burgundy rope ribbon and I tied a bow in the middle and made some, those little things that are on the pumpkin, little tendrils. And I put it on an easel and it is as cute as can be. Now, for those of you who like to have a whole lot of stuff, this is a minimal look. Kind of gives a Scandi flair, and the cost of this pumpkin was only $2.25, probably a little less than that. But hey, I'm under budget and it looks nice on my tiered tray. Now, 5 Under 5 is a collaboration with the host Farm Charm Chic. The guest host for this month is Z9 Designs. That's me, Cindy. This is a great collaboration to show others how you can have a beautiful home on a dime. These women are expert at making items for just a few dollars. So be sure to subscribe, like, save, and comment, and the link to their channels are listed in the description box below. Other collaborators are making pumpkins to wow you, so make sure you subscribe to their channels and give them a thumbs up and some encouraging words. The playlist is in the description box below. Okay, so now on to my 5 Under 5 number 2. This is a lighted tape roll pumpkin. And the supplies are very minimal. You need a tape roll, some acrylic pumpkin colored paint, rub-on transfers, some thin clear acrylic paper, some translucent paper, air-dry clay, and some of those fairy lights, chipboard, and a hole punch, and rub and buff. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I have made many items out of tape rolls, so you can look back at those when you get a chance. I wanted to make a lighted pumpkin, so I painted this tape roll orange. I think the color is called pumpkin. I painted it on the outside. Now, in the inside, I left it natural. Then I traced and cut a circle of thin, clear acrylic paper, and then I used pumpkin and leaves rub-on transfer to give it a little character, because if it's just plain, it's not going to look very good. Then I glued it to the opening on the outside of the roll, and I used some reptile adhesive because that is just super duper adhesive and it works really well, and then you don't see any trace of the glue on the outside. On the inside, I traced around a piece of translucent paper, and then I put it next to the acrylic. This was on the inside. And you know, when you have some lights in the inside, you don't want people to be looking at those lights. So what you're going to do, you're going to put that paper in there, and then you won't see the lights that are inside. I cut a piece of chipboard in a circle so the lights would not fall out. And then I punched a hole in the round piece that goes on the back. And the reason why, just thread the fairy lights through the opening. So then they're all in there. And then I took some reptile adhesive and I glued the round chipboard to the back. Because the lights are already threaded through, all I had to do was to take some hot glue and glue the control that was on the outside to the back of the round circle. Then I took a piece of air-dried clay and I made a stem on top of the box, you know, because every pumpkin has to have a stem, or else it's probably not going to look like a pumpkin. Now, we know that sometimes when you go out to the patch and you pick pumpkins, some of them don't have the stems. Rub and buff was used to give this stem some character, along with some black paint. There are 3 different settings on the fairy light, but I left it on because some people may not be able to deal with the blinking. But anyway, it gives off a cozy ambiance, and it's sitting on my tier tray too, so you'll see that in the future. 5 under 5, number 3, a lighted box pumpkin. And the supplies needed are air-dried clay, rub-on transfer, fairy lights, brown acrylic paint, hot glue, translucent paper, and you need a screwdriver because this one takes a little bit to get the acrylic part off the box. And I didn't go out and buy anything, but if I did, it would be $1. I think I had it when it was only $1 because I have a huge stash. And it had the words on the outside. It said something like, "Home is where the heart is." And I used a screwdriver and removed the thick acrylic that was attached to the box. Now, this acrylic piece was 4x5 by 4x5, and it had the writing on, so I needed to remove that before I did my rub-on transfer. And I found some pumpkins with the word, "With God, all things are possible," and that is so true. I just hot glued the fairy lights to the box. And then I added the translucent paper over the lights because, you know, you don't want to see all those wires and everything. You want it to be kind of have a nice clean look. And finally, I twisted the acrylic piece onto the box and made sure the lights work. Next, to make it look like a pumpkin, I took a piece of clay and made a stem and then let it dry. Then I took my brown acrylic paint, painted over it, and I kind of drew some lines with a pencil so it looks more like a stem. It had more of a realistic look. And then I took some hot glue and attached the on and off switch to the back of the box. And then, of course, I hot glued the stem on top. Light it up, and how cool is that? Now, the cost of the box, we'll say, is approximately $3.50, but definitely not any more than $5. Okay, on to number 4, 5 under 5 Bou Clay Pumpkin. And the supplies needed are burgundy fabric, a needle, and I used some embroidery thread, pumpkin stem, I stole that from another pumpkin, stuffing, leaf, hot glue, gold paint, and a little glitter. Now, this is an easy pumpkin, again, to make, and it does not have a lot of steps, but you need to determine how big you want the pumpkin. So I took some chalk and I just kind of traced around. It's a cake platter, and then took some chalk and just went around it, and then I just cut it out. Then I took a needle and thread and just kind of made some loose stitches, so in and out, that type of thing, until I got to the end, because see, you can pull it and it makes a nice little tight circle. And so after that, I took stuffing from an old pillow that I had and I stuffed it in the circle. Not too much, because you want it to be able to squeeze it a little bit. So you don't want to overfill it, but you don't want to underfill it too, so it looks kind of crazy. I pulled it tight, and then I made the ribs, and I just used the thread. Now the thread was double, it's not single, and I wrapped it around so you can see the ribs. Lastly, I took a stem from another pumpkin and I hot glued that to the top. But you know, I gotta be a little special. So a leaf was painted gold. I took some Mod Podge and along with some glitter to make it kind of fancy. And this was hot glued near the stem, and then it was styled. Now, here's the good part. You know your neighbors have some fabric, or you can find some scraps at the Goodwill, but this was given to me. That was free. And the stem was from another pumpkin that was in my stash. And the leaf, I just cut it out of a flower arrangement that I hadn't even used yet. So, hey, you're not gonna miss a leaf. And basically this DIY was free, but if I had to put a charge to it, I would just say $1. So I think it's so cute, especially with the little glitter leaf. So let me know how I did. And the last pumpkin is super, super easy. Anybody can make it. It's 5 under 5 flower pot pumpkin. The supplies needed include a styrofoam pumpkin, acrylic paint, an elephant, baking soda, corn silk acrylic paint, and a flower. Now, this is the most simplistic pumpkin that I made today. I took a Dollar Tree pumpkin, I painted it with elephant colored acrylic paint. Why this color? Well, you know, I thought it might look a little bit like concrete. Wrong. However, you all know me by now from watching my crafting videos that this is a process. I left it for a few days because I couldn't stand it. And then I decided that I could paint it with another color, make it a little bit better, figure out what I'm going to do. So I used the colored corn silk. But what I did different this time, I mixed it with baking soda, and then I just took a little pouncer and began dabbing it around the pumpkin. And I noticed that in the creases between the ribs, the gray was showing through, and I was like, hey, this is not looking too bad. So I removed the stem. Of course, you know, I borrowed from Peter to pay Paul with crafting, and I used that on another pumpkin, but that's another story. And I found a flower with a brown center, and I think they called that a Gerbera daisy. And so I put that right in the center where the stem would go. I didn't even use any glue with this. You just stick it into the styrofoam. It's going to stay where you place it. This is simple, and additionally, I noticed when I looked at it, it has a little slight sparkle to the pumpkin. How in the world did that happen? I don't know, except for maybe it was the baking soda. Oh well. Anyway, it only costs at the very most $1.75. So this is a win-win situation. Now, if you have liked my Pumpkin-Rama DIYs, please subscribe to my channel and join in the fun. And you can follow me on social media where I will post some of the things that I make, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And thanks for watching. I appreciate all of my subscribers and those who are thinking about joining. All you need to do is hit the subscribe button and you can join this joyful family. And remember, there are those who give joy, and that joy is their reward. And that is by Kahali Gibran. Thank you for watching. See you later. Bye-bye.